Welcome to Imperfect with Rebekah and Zandra. Today we have a special guest, my handsome hubby, Nathan, and Maybell. So last week we had a crazy schedule with our kids, and so Zandra took over, and instead of doing it solo, she had her husband join her, and so we have in common that our husbands are gamers. So we thought it'd be fun to kind of talk on that subject. And so this week we're taking over. And so I have some questions and just kind of chat.
Before we start, I'm extremely close to her because we've done this before. And she's like, I told you, you got to be closer. I can't hear you. So we're redoing it. Just take two.
Yes. Take two. That's right. Yep. Because it's called Imperfect, even though I'm a perfectionist. I could drive him crazy with that, huh? All right. So when did you start gaming?
I started gaming at friends' houses before school. I remember playing NES, Atari, and stuff.
I love Atari.
I did not have my first console or computer until I was probably in third grade. And my first game was Sonic the Hedgehog on console. My first game on computer, I believe, was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was on floppy disks. not the hard disk, the floppy ones.
Something this younger generation probably has no idea what it is, like at all.
Yeah. Okay.
We were talking last night too about Atari because I grew up on Atari. We had like old school TV on the floor and it had like the wind up dial. What is that called anyway? Do you remember what those are called? Like the style. That was the controller.
Yeah.
And so it was like
just like the phone is a rotary.
Yeah. And so I felt like I wasn't as cool at the time because everybody else had the newer consoles, but we had the Atari and like the Snake and what was the one that I couldn't remember last night? The Pong and Donkey Kong. I was obsessed with Donkey Kong. Oh, and no, there was another one.
I don't remember. Atari's not my gig.
It's not your gig? No. So loved Atari. And then so I had a brother who played a lot and wasn't like super into it, kind of like how our kids would be now, but would play with him. And then I remember you guys would always come over like middle school, and they would come over and play GoldenEye.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. So that was
the start of competitive multiplayer. I remember going to TVCC and we'd set up LAN parties with computers at the computer lab at TVCC playing Warcraft, not World of Warcraft, the original Warcraft, which was an RTS or real-time strategy where you built a city, made troops and everything. And we would, be like 8 of us in there doing that. GoldenEye was the next step. Well, actually, no, we would also play Quake, which was one of the original FPS games. And then, along with Doom, but then it moved on to console, starting with GoldenEye. That started it. That was fun. A good game.
So FPS is first person shooter, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but that was probably like, because I grew up doing like Duck Hunter and the original NES and what was that one? It was like the like Track Star. And it had a pad on the floor and you had to like run.
I don't remember that. Those games really like whatever. Keep it. You can have it.
Like the Connect. Like that's what it reminded me of.
Keep it.
Yeah. I like to be active though. So that was like totally up my alley. But okay. So one thing that Zandra was talking about with her, like she really wanted to know why Ryan gamed because she really wanted to connect with that and understand because she had been in a relationship before where it wasn't like the healthiest kind of gaming. Like, so why do you kind of game?
I got to thinking about that. Back in the day, it was mainly the competition, because we would sit in my basement and play GoldenEye or Mario Kart, and there'd be 3 to 4 of us. And I mean, we could do it for hours and hours, but it also kept my mind busy, let me relax. And now it's mainly just because I chat with my friends.
Yeah.
We go over everybody's day and get stressed out because it's very stressful these days with how fast everything is and all these people who have to try hard, I guess is what you call them.
Cheaters.
Oh, and cheaters, yes. Good Lord. That's a whole nother story.
I know. I didn't even know what he was even referring to. I just hear them yelling, cheaters, he's a cheater. And
It's crazy.
So speaking of your friends, so one of my favorite stories is when he started gaming with a group of guys, probably like 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago.
It's been
a long time. And it got to the point where they actually started texting and calling each other. And so they have like a group chat. So then when somebody gets off work and they're like, hey, I'm ready. And then they all are like, okay, well, I'll be on as soon as I'm home, whatever. So one of his gaming friends, we're not going to put out real names. So his name is Lazy. Is his gamer name. We're not calling him Lazy. His girlfriend contacted me, or somehow we got in touch, like on Instagram, I think, and started talking. And it was like a good year.
It was when she was pregnant. You started talking to her on the headset.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. I remember that now. And then we ended up connecting on Instagram. And so it was last year, probably about this time. And she contacted me and said, hey, for Lazy's birthday, I wanted to surprise him with a trip. And so I was thinking it would be a lot of fun to take a trip up to see you guys and meet you in person. And they were talking about getting a motel. And I was like, no, you can just come stay with us. And everybody thought we were so crazy. Like, you don't know these people. Like, you're just inviting them into your house. But we knew them because
at that point I've been talking to him for 5
every single day. Yeah. And like our kids know them. Like they even have played with, like, get on the headset, talk to them. And it was so much fun. So they came for the 4th of July last year and brought their daughter. And it was something that we would have never had if it weren't for kind of that gaming community and that, like, the whole different world, which I did not understand. I didn't understand why you were playing with people you didn't even know. That was something that was like, for me, hard to understand. But
it was weird. Like, we were trying to think about how we all connected the other day, and we can't remember. It's been so long ago, we can't remember. I just remember I instantly liked Lazy, and then Throne. He's the oldest one. He's approaching 50.
Yeah.
And all cool people. Then we got a couple younger 20-year-olds we play with from Florida. Shout out Cucumber Turtle.
It was one of those things that was important for me to understand, like how Zandra was too. Because we did have like a point where I felt like maybe you spent too much time on games. And for me to understand that more, a lot of it was starting to try and play your games.
Well, you got to understand, like, before video games, it was books.
Yeah.
And I would spend hours upon hours reading books. So it's a form of entertainment that keeps me busy. I would rather buy a video game than watch a movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not a passive piece of entertainment. I'm helping it along. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like choose your own adventure books.
And you're a part of it.
Yeah. So it's much more entertaining to me. Unfortunately, it's not as entertaining for the people sitting around you. So
well, and then that was when I think there was it Civilization Revolution that you got me onto, and I liked the strategy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I totally geeked out on that. And then it was Sims 4. So one of the posts that Zandra and I had been sharing before was that I have a Steam account. But that was specifically because Nathan's always on his Xbox. And so if I wanted to play my Sims, I had to now do it on my computer. And so I got my account on the computer. But I like it. I realized how relaxing it can be. Like you can escape your day-to-day stresses. And one thing I was telling Nathan is that I love Sims because I create families, and a lot of the time it's like based off of us, but I like the building of it. And then when I tell them to do something, they do it.
Sometimes they glitch out in the bathroom and don't know what they're doing.
And then I get really pissed off and he finds it amusing. But I haven't played. I did the other day, but it's not like an everyday thing for me. It's more of like, I guess if I'm playing, then you know that I needed like a moment of zen.
Yes, lately I've had a tougher time finding a game that would hold my attention. And yeah, I don't know.
And I think the reason that you do make the time for it anyway, though, is for that connection with your friends.
Yeah.
Because I think if it weren't for them, you would move on to a totally different game. Because that was the other thing too, is like if you want to play with them, you guys are on the same game, right? Although the other day,
oh no, we're all in different games.
Like they'll be just talking to each other and playing different games, which is kind of cool that you can. So I was actually thinking about that with Zandra, that because she has a Twitch account, and because Ryan streams, and so she got it so she could watch and kind of the same thing, like trying to participate with that. And one of the marriage tips that I gave her, marriage advice, was to play with him, to, do that as a hobby together for that connection. And because I've tried to play Nathan's games, I can't do the first person shooter. Oh, it makes me so nauseous. Like it gives me a headache and I can't do it. I can do Minecraft though. Isn't that considered first person?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's slow.
Yeah, it's not.
It's more controlled.
Yeah.
The high stress stuff is like, I don't understand how that's relaxing. I can't do it. It is too much. We've talked before, Zandra and I, about our 4 boys. So we have 4 boys. 2 of them are now teenagers, and one that's almost a teen. He's preteen, and an 8-year-old. So they play a lot, whether it's like on their tablets, or they even have like games on their Chromebooks. Like I can't even remember what they are, but it's a different world for me because I always swore up and down that they weren't going to have their own TVs, because I didn't have like we had 2 TVs, maybe 3 at the most at one time in the house that I grew up in. And we didn't, like, my brother bought his own console. Like we just didn't have the means for us to have our own things. And so I was like adamant, they're not gonna have that, but it worked out.
Oh my gosh.
And it's not like they have their own either. Like the 2 older ones actually saved up money for their TV, and they got hand-me-downs of, your consoles.
Mhm.
Because we started out with the 360
Yeah.
when we first got married.
Limited edition Gears of War 360.
Yeah. And we actually still have it.
Yeah.
It's
still.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
going.
Mhm.
And then as he started getting other ones, and then the one we had to get refurbished, right?
That immediately broke after that.
Not immediately. It was like a little bit. I mean, they got a good year out of it. Which is why he doesn't let me buy refurbished. So that's the only reason why they have those. But I was so against it, wasn't I? Like adamant. I didn't want it. But Nathan has given me like good reasons why gaming can be a benefit.
Constructive.
Yes, constructive. And QP has done his research. He even comes and brings me like statistics too.
Mhm.
So, okay, so back to the consoles. So Nathan plays on consoles. I think we kind of established that. Have you ever played on like a mouse and keyboard, like on a computer?
Yes, I love mouse and keyboard, and I would play on it still to this day, but you have taken over the computer. Header.
Okay, so you were talking about Ninja Turtles on a floppy disk. So that would actually be on a computer then.
There was no mice at that time, is what you got to think about. So it was just on a keyboard.
Oh, that's right. Kind of like Oregon Trail.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to get real technical, we started. Okay, so how old were you though? Like third grade?
Yeah, I would say third grade. So I mean, it's crazy to think that we even had a computer at that point.
You guys did at home?
Mm-hmm.
What's crazy, I think we did too. Not that we used it. What's funny to think about is my dad used to play Dungeons and Dragons on the computer.
Yes, and so the only place we could get video games, I remember this very clearly back then. This would have been probably in the late 80s, early 90s. We had to go to Boise and go to Toys R Us to get video games for the Sega. And yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that because we didn't have, like, everything's digital now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then that was something we were talking about too before was when we first got married, you had to go to the store and wait in line for like new releases.
I didn't have to.
You didn't have to, but you did.
At that time, digital wasn't as advanced as it is now, and you couldn't pre-download games days before. You had, when it came out, you started downloading it then. Internet speeds weren't as fast as they were.
Yeah.
Yada yada yada. Like now, I mean, we're running 300 MBS, so I mean, I can download a 100 GB game in an hour, no problem. So,
and that's with like everybody on the internet too.
Yeah, and I can do it 3 days before the game even comes out, so it's ready as soon as.
What's even crazier is that you can actually get on your phone.
Yeah, from my phone and do it from my phone. And on some of the games that have a universal release, I can actually change my time zone to New Zealand and play it almost 24 hours before it's ready in
Really?
America.
Because there's been times where you're like, hey, go make sure the Xbox is on so I can download.
Yeah. Well, it does it all automatically now. I don't even have to call you.
Really? Oh, I was wondering why you haven't called me. Well, you haven't really downloaded anything new lately, have you?
I have. I don't
really
have to call you. Yeah, I just put it on my phone, and because it's always on in sleep mode, it'll download everything automatically.
Well, and at this point, everything seems the same game to me.
And Xbox is exploring a cloud gaming service where I can stream games onto my cell phone or computer, and it just runs it through the cloud. So as long as I have a good internet connection, it's pretty good.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because QP has been playing Skyrim on the Switch, and it all looks familiar because you used to play it. Mm-hmm. That was when they were little, right? Is when you used to play that one?
Yeah, it came out quite some time ago.
And So he was showing me stuff, and a part of me was like, oh my gosh, this looks just like.
How long ago do you think I was playing it? Because that would have been before I met Lazy. So you're talking 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
10 years ago, something like that.
And you were playing, but you were playing something totally different though when we first got married.
Oh. He's fine. Go
Lay
sleep.
down. Lay down.
Is it bedtime?
Maybell's telling us to wrap it up. I think that's like my biggest takeaway from everything, though, like in the 12 years that we've been married, almost 12 years, is to try and understand it more, like whether it's gaming or.
If I couldn't game, I would be hunting, and I would leave right after work and wouldn't be home till after dark, or I would be finding a quiet corner to read a book in for hours. So
Yeah.
whatever I do, it gets 100% of my focus.
And that's one of the reasons that I started hunting with you too.
Yeah.
Is to have that connection with you.
Yeah.
And, you know, because it's not like you're going to dance with me and.
Maybe when I'm older.
You do sometimes, but not like my kind of dancing. And my hobbies are, it's not really something that we can really do together. And so that was my biggest thing, was learning to accept it and to really see, like, especially, I think a lot of it too is like seeing the kids getting older and having that connection with you too.
Yeah.
And they can all talk about it. I still most of the time am oblivious to whatever it is that they're talking about. I try to grasp it. Like, we were even talking about the different Xboxes that we have, and I still can't, what's the word? I can't remember all the details.
Gotcha.
So like,
all you got to know is that it's just like buying the next year model of car.
Right. And I understand that, but you and the boys can totally connect on that and like have these conversations about the specs and why it's so much better than X, Y, and Z. And
it's 12 teraflops. I don't even know what a teraflop is.
I don't know. Well, and then Killian was like, for his birthday, he wanted a hard drive.
Yeah.
And he wanted more space for his games. And I was like, delete some games. That much I understand. And so, but that's my biggest takeaway from it, is that I had a negative viewpoint of it for a long time. And it was and obviously a personal thing for myself that I had to understand and kind of get through. And it's not, as long as it's something that somebody can like shut off and understand there's important events going on or whatever. It's not like,
as long as it's not during a top 10 situation, it's all good.
So anyway, I'm glad that you hung out with me for the second time to do this. And it's fun. I know it's not your thing. He doesn't like being in front of
not at all.
But he's a trooper. And I just had to make sure we had more beer on it. So thank you. Love you.
Call beer social lubrication.
Yes, we do. Yeah. If you are not already following us, Zandra and I are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook under Imperfect with Rebekah and Zandra, or Imperfect WR and Z. You can also listen to us on Podbean, Spotify, or you can watch and listen on YouTube. We also have a new feature where you can listen to us on Facebook, which is super cool that we figured that out. Total podcast newbies. We're figuring this all out as we go. Again, this is our second time recording this one. It's a lot easier when we have just one person on the mic. And even then, Zandra and I have been trying to figure out the best way to go about audio. So
That's cerveza dos for those counting.
So thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you guys enjoyed this. And I hope you guys have a perfectly imperfect day. Bye, guys.
Adios. Muchachos.